Fair or not, there's a widespread perception that public media has a liberal bias, from the stories we cover to the journalists we hire. But a brand new PBS program could make the ideological picture a bit more complicated. Adam Riley has more.
Back in the 70s and 80s, William F. Buckley Jr.'s firing line was a PBS staple and must-see TV for those seeking a conservative perspective.
Morality is by no means a dominant consideration in much of the capitalist class.
I will argue that with you.
Since then, few public media programs have put a similar premium on conservative points of view. But now that might be about to change.
He has a set of instincts, which are nativist and nationalist, but I don't think he has a set of economic and political philosophic convictions.
That's Michael Gerson, a former George W. Bush speechwriter who's been critical of President Trump. Next month, he'll co-host the new PBS show In Principle with former Blaze TV anchor Amy Holmes, who's more Trump-friendly.
The former president said that he didn't need Congress. He could work around Congress.
Despite their shared conservatism, they plan to feature guests from across the spectrum. Gerson tells Beat the Press there's a hunger for respectful conversation across the deepest political and cultural divides. At PBS, there might also be a hunger to change the liberal media stereotype.
Boy, watching William F. Buckley, just that brought that whole genre back, Friday night watching, it's not going to be like that. I mean, I give credit for PBS for trying, because rightfully so, PBS has a liberal bent. I mean, rightfully so, they're accused of having one because they do, and that's who they hire. So, but is this going to make the difference really, especially if it's not going to be something out of the Fox News, milieu. So I have a feeling we're going to have a hard time attracting an audience.
I'm not sure there are going to be a lot of conservatives who are going to be tuning into their PBS station to watch this. I do think it is interesting the way that one result that Trump has brought to our political environment is that the debates between left and right are now often shifted between debates between never-Trump Republicans and conservatives and pro-Trump conservatives. And this seems to be an example of that. I absolutely agree with what Michael Gerson said, that there is a hunger for respectful conversation that goes across divides. I just really question whether a conservative Republican who likes Trump and a conservative Republican who doesn't like Trump is really that divide. Even Firing Line, and when William F. Buckley was hosting it, always had Michael Kinsley or someone being the liberal interlocutor who would be able to push back in that way, even though Buckley was the host. I think this is a great idea for a show, but it seems odd to narrow it down to these two people.
I'd like to see the what's the liberal talk show on PBS? There actually isn't one. This is very interesting. I mean, it's an interesting idea. It might be a pretty good show. I like Michael Gerson. There is no liberal equivalent to this on PBS, despite its liberal reputation. Oh, well, the people would be wrong. You could go back a year or two ago and you say Tavis Smiley, I suppose Charlie Rose, although it was an interview show, certainly Bill Moyers. They're all gone. They're all gone. This is like the only opinionated talk show that PBS has in the works, and it's strictly conservative.
Well, I'll tell you the show that I'd like PBS to bring back in the spirit of the Murphy Brown and Roseanne reboots. I want to see the McLaughlin Group. It would have to have a new cast, but that was the one that I grew up watching with my parents, and it gave me, I think, an appetite for civil debate among people of different views. And it was different from, I think, Crossfire came on CNN after that and was more like you against you. And then the CNN panels of today don't, it's basically like people lobbing little bombs at each other. But if PBS could host something that took a step back and did debate that was interesting because it had cool characters, but was also civil, I don't know, I would watch that.
I love that you described the McLaughlin show as having cool characters.
Yeah, really. So this is about the guests. It really isn't about the hosts to me. I mean, I think it's interesting that they named them and made sure that everybody knew that they were conservative, but it will be determined, its success, about who they bring on. Because there is to Josh's point, there is a real spectrum now of who's calling themselves whatever along the spectrum. And frankly, some of those people are just off the wall. So I'm looking for you then to bring in the folks who are, for lack of a better expression and a shorthand, credentialed, knowledgeable, have a fundamentally different point of view maybe than some people think is represented on PBS, but who have the stuff to back it up.
I don't think
That's what I'm
they're not
saying.
going to be getting the likes of Margaret Thatcher the way William F. Buckley did.
Well.